response to Emily Hanford's Hard Words article rippled across the country. A relentlessly reflective principal who we deeply respect asked us point blank, "What are you going to do to help us figure this out?" Not long after, we had an inquiry from a frustrated literacy coach who had been told by district leadership that she could no longer use the MSV model in workshops with teachers. Interactions like these, together with our own cognitive dissonance, sealed our commitment to building a bridge between the science of reading and balanced literacy. Our work is driven by a fierce commitment to you, the real champions of education who work closely with children every day. We've written this book to support you in making sound decisions anchored in the best of science, the truth of responsiveness, and a relentless focus on providing all children learning experiences saturated with meaning. Bravely embracing research and balance. In response to the growing division and rising intensity around early literacy instruction, we've mustered our courage and chosen to embrace the national conversation as an opportunity to sort through the noise in search of the signal of sound practice. With our shared interest in early literacy piqued by those who suggest that balanced literacy practices don't represent scientific findings about reading instruction, we have taken a systematic and deep look at experimental research. This work required us to honestly consider evidence and arguments that challenged some of our most closely held beliefs. It meant pushing ourselves to read beyond the sensationalized and often misleading media headlines. It meant reading through reams of research summaries and meta-analyses, as well as books and articles and blogs written by teachers, professors of education, the federal government, educational psychologists, and neuroscientists. And most importantly, it meant intentionally initiating conversations with those who take issue with some of the ideas we hold most dear. We have tried to do this work with our minds open enough and our limbic systems calm enough to learn as much as possible along the way. Through it all, we found, as have others, that the experimental research on reading isn't completely consistent or irrefutable. Furthermore, research is even less clear or consistent when it comes to the nitty-gritty nuances of classroom instruction, such as the exact order for introducing letters and sounds. However, the experimental science that establishes how the brain learns to read is far too comprehensive and too robust to disregard. Immersing ourselves in this controversial topic was often vulnerable work. Sometimes we found ourselves triggered or defensive, fiercely scribbling responses in the margins of our texts and wanting to argue, "That's a misrepresentation, that's a partial truth, they don't understand." Other times, we found ourselves excitedly jotting notes that showed the strong connectedness of ideas that could bring the two sides together rather than push us apart. Along the way, we have asked ourselves, is it possible that balanced literacy classrooms are sometimes a bit out of balance when it comes to understanding and promoting research-aligned instruction? Could it be that we are missing or misunderstanding compelling opportunities to bridge research to instructional practice in the reading classroom? Do we have some seemingly logical practices that are driven more by our intuition about how reading appears to work from the outside than they are driven by the science of how reading actually works inside the brain? Is it possible that a few simple but powerful shifts could help us unlock literacy for more children than ever before, especially those for whom the current systems do not work or do not work well enough? We have found that the answer to all four of these questions is yes. One thing that has become crystal clear to us is that the very term balanced literacy triggers a negative response from some people whose voices we need to hear and learn from. In the minds of some, balanced literacy is simply whole language repackaged with a different name. Others view it as a haphazard approach designed to appease critics by simply doing a bit of everything. Still others criticize balanced literacy for tokenism, giving only a small symbolic nod to experimental science and calling that enough. Although we don't ascribe to these descriptions as a rule, we do agree that a common definition of balanced literacy is difficult to pin down, and that balanced literacy plays out differently from school to school and classroom to classroom.